Hi everyone, this is Madhuri from National Skills Network, and we are going ahead with our series on drones, skilling, capacity building, manufacturing, and many other aspects of this sunrise sector, which is a part of the aviation sector in India. And today we have with us a guest, Mr. Vipul Singh, who is the founder CEO of Aarav Unmanned Systems. The short form is AUS. Yeah, nice to have you in this talk, Vipul. So there's a lot we wish to learn from you, but then I would like to just bring out some high priority points. First and most important, there is a lot of visibility for this sector and there's a lot of government push. And today it seems like in the coming years, drones are going to be used all over in every possible domain in our lives. Is that true? And if that is true, are we prepared with the kind of people we need to train people, the skilling and the training, and getting the right people to take up jobs that are coming up in this sector?
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot, Madhuriji, for inviting me over and also giving this platform to share my thoughts about this very important subject, because I believe for any industry to prosper, there are four important pillars from an overall industry or the economy perspective. And these four pillars also start with the word P, basically people, process, product, and policy. So I believe product is a function of an organization. Policy and process is function of the industry, and people, of course, become part of a larger ecosystem where the right set of people are required. Otherwise, all three together can't do anything. So definitely skilling of people and creating the force to fulfill the requirements of the future, apart from catering to the current, is absolutely necessary. Okay, so that is one thing which I would like to emphasize. And I mean, this sector, as you rightly pointed out, is an emerging sunrise sector, growing very, very fast. One of the fastest growing sector in the current state, even though we have a lot of other economic challenges, this sector is growing like anything, and there is a government emphasis also on this. Yeah. And at this point of time, this sector is actually facing a lot of skill crisis. There are a lot of people required. And see, to just give you the right context, see, drones are like cameras. Cameras with different capabilities flying in the air. Right, there are cameras, DSLR cameras also in the market, which requires a professional photographer to shoot. And you need to understand every angle of it, every lighting condition, different lenses. And they are very simple to shoot, and your mobile phone cameras also, right, made for completely different type of users. So drone are also going to take some kind of similar position in the market. A drone is a very generic word. We have a drone which we will see drones which will be as big as aircrafts, will be used to carry very heavy payloads in a very difficult scenarios. We'll be having drones which will fly for more than 24 hours continuously, beaming internet and doing remote sensing. And we are also talking about very small pocket-friendly drones which may help a farmer to inspect his crop and land in different scenarios, right? So we're talking about drones helping rural population, where every village might have 2-3 drones in the future. And we are also talking about drones which are going to play a very, very important role on the border and in the warfare. So the skill set which is required is a wide spectrum of skill set when it comes to catering the different requirements of this industry. For example, piloting is one such requirement. How do you pilot different types of drones in different scenarios for different use cases? Again, for different weight class, different weather conditions. Then you have also, when you are saying operations, then someone will have to build these products. So there will be a requirement for manufacturing these drones in India. Of course, as a country full of talent pool, we should aim to become or the aim is to become the leading country in this particular subject. We have everything which is required. So there is a pool of people which will be required who are having the expertise to manufacture these drones. Drone manufacturing is a little slightly different subject than I would say other industries, because the criticality involved in this. So where the scale will be as good as automobile, the criticality will be as good as an aircraft, because if something goes wrong, the whole drone can just fall down and complete value can be lost. Yeah. So people need to have both precision, speed, and also the quality factor in their hands in order to do successful manufacturing and assembly of drones. Of course, drones are moving objects like any other moving object like cars. There will be post-sales, repair services, maintenance, MRO kind of activities which will be involved. And last but not the least, if we, it's a nascent industry, there's a lot of new product development and everything will happen. So hence there is also requirement for engineering knowledge and fundamental scientific knowledge to design, develop, and basically design and develop and continuously innovate on this. So there's a huge set of skills across different disciplines which is required, because drone is also a multidisciplinary subject.
Yeah.
You have mechanical components, you have electrical components, you have hardcore electronics, you have embedded software, you have computer science on the data analytics. So there is a multidisciplinary expertise which is required. So this is not a sector which is going to give opportunity for only one type of streams or education background. It will give opportunity for every different engineering and non-engineering fields. In fact, to become a drone pilot, the law allows one to become a drone pilot with just a high school degree.
Okay.
So it will also give opportunity for a lot of people without professional degrees and technical knowledge to also get into the subject, right? Or in the industry. I mean, we can say even a farmer tomorrow who's just high school pass may become a drone pilot.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of ground to cover, and there's a lot of challenge which we have to face in order to make sure that that happens.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like this is going to give opportunities, like you said, even to a 10th class pass or somebody who is also has highly educated as a very researched PhD holder, perhaps to get into the industry. And also another important point you highlighted is multi-sector. Now I will just connect it to AUS and the amazing work that's happening at your end in terms of, I was going through the verticals in which you're present, like the application of drones, right? So for our audience, perhaps most of them may not be aware. So could you please tell us in a simple way how this is applied across different industry sectors, maybe by picking up 4 or 5 industry sectors like agriculture, mining, construction, and others?
Sure. I mean, I would like to take some examples of common day problems.
Mm-hmm.
How drones are solving them. So just to give the certain fundamental principles, see, machines are deployed for anything or replacing any job which is dull, dirty, dangerous, and repetitive in nature. Where the stress factor which comes on the human being involved can be removed, because generally machines don't get stressed and tired as frequently as the human beings, right? And where there is no point doing a repetitive job by a human being, where you can bring in machines to do it better and enable the human beings involved rather than replace them. So for example, let's say today, if you have a telecom tower, right, it has got a lot of equipment over it. Many of these equipments are mounted on the top of the tower, right? So this is irrespective of where we are, just to give a context to the audience that what kind of use cases we are looking at, very, very fundamental ones. So every time one has to inspect whether all these equipments are in right shape, everything which is required and the right quality exists, because otherwise it may happen that someday the equipment or the infrastructure holding that equipment may fail and we lose network which is available in that area. So there is a regular scheduled inspection and maintenance which happens on these telecom towers. But you know what happens today? A guy has to climb up 80-90 meters wearing a harness and doing all the inspection manually. It's a little dangerous activity, takes a lot of time, and also it's more or less a manual inspection which happens. So there is a lot of room for error. So now if you bring drone in, a small 500 to 1000 gram drone, which can be carried in your pocket or a small backpack, can do the same activity in 1/5 of the time, right? And no one has to really, the guy has to go to the tower, but does not have to climb it. So there is no unwanted risk which is involved in this. And then when you collect data through machine, there is a lot of scope for data analytics, which is more accurate and reliable over a period of time compared to manual inspection. This is one example. Now let us look at the agriculture example, right? What is happening today is that in India, we have 300 plus million acres of area which is sprayed with various pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers, at least 4 to 5 times in a year, depending on the crop and the region, just to make sure that the crop is protected from the pests and insects attacking the at different durations. So what happens today, people would have seen that these farmers or laborers which are deployed to do this activity, it's a very disorganized sector, are wearing a knapsack, basically a backpack tank, and then doing the spraying manually over these crops. So they have to walk through the entire farm. So what it results into, generally the practice is to deploy or put chemicals in excess quantity. So one thing is that for about an acre of plot or a farmland, people end up using about 100 liters of water.
Okay.
So when you bring in drone to do the same stuff, it uses only 20 to 30 liters of water. So there is a lot of water saving which happens. So not every region in the country has water available so readily. So irrespective of that, if they are in farming practice, they have to make that 100-liter water available for that process. The second thing is that when the farmer is doing that activity, a lot of chemical residual is basically flying over them. So they end up having eye, skin, lungs, all these kind of problems. Sometimes they even end up having cancer because these are very dangerous chemicals to inhale on a regular basis.
Yeah.
There is also a scarcity of labor because of that, because it is causing sickness, right? The third thing which happens is that because it is non-controlled activity dependent on how that person operates, sometimes we end up feeding more than required chemical on the crop. So either it leads to water and soil contamination in the area, or the crop becomes unfit for consumption or export. There was a news recently where a big consignment of tea was cancelled by Europe or returned by Europe, which was sent by India because it was having excess of pesticide over it.
Okay.
So it's not the loss of the farmer only, but it is also the loss of the entire country. And plus, if we are not able to sell our good crops in the foreign nations just because there is extra chemical, we are also the farmer's income is compromised, right? So there is no facility to make sure that that does not happen. So when you bring in drones, first of all, the person who will be employed to do that, the employment quality will increase, income will improve. Same guy will be doing, let's say, 100 acres per day instead of doing 20, 30 acres per day, right? Coverage. So the income will increase. There's a little technical work. So the quality of manpower required in the same rural area will increase. So there will be room for youth to get employed, educated youth to get employed in this, because they will not be carrying knapsack and doing the laborious job. They'll be standing below a tree in a comfortable zone and pressing a few buttons to fly that drone. Yeah. Right? And you save water, you save chemical, and you make the crop export oriented or export friendly, and also make sure that it is healthy for consumption. So a lot of problem is basically going to get solved. And the estimate of Ministry of Agriculture is that the agricultural GDP may see a upside of about 1 to 1.5% just because of the intervention from the drones. Okay. So that is one major benefit which is coming. Likewise, there are a lot of industries which are also using drones. Inspection of oil pipelines where damages, leakages happen. A lot of times we see power cuts because our transmission lines, they fail. Drones are being used to do a scheduled inspection of these transmission lines also. Mining companies, you see a lot of power cuts because there's a shortage of supply of coal to these power plants. It is not that we don't have coal. It is that the production, planning, and adherence to certain plans are not happening on time. So drone, when it comes into picture, it helps do that. Another major example is the Swamitwa project, where drones are being used to map more than all our villages, 6.62 lakh villages, to create property land record data for the Abadi areas where people live, which data did not exist. Now, because of this data, the rural population can also take financial credit from the banks. They can resolve disputes. So drones are not only solving current problems, but they are also making sure that our future generation is protected. Okay. So there are a lot of activities happening, and going forward, there are many other things. Drones are also being deployed in difficult areas to transport goods. Emergency medical and vaccines are being transported using drones in some of the part of the world. Drones are also there are drones which are being tested for transport of people also, drone taxis, so that we don't have to deal with traffic. You can go to your rooftop, call a drone like a Uber, and fly quickly to another part of the city, generally in 10-15 minutes, which would have taken about an hour to travel. Yeah. Right? So there are plenty of problems which drones are solving, and hence they are presenting a lot of opportunities for people as well in this sector.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was a wonderful, elaboration of various examples you gave us. For many people, for most of us who are kind of, lay people, or we don't know much about technology behind it, I think this is a wonderful explanation. There is also the other side, Vipul, like the analytics part of it, where you really need a lot of interpretation and things. Like you gave us these examples about how areas where there is risk or where you need precision and things like that, like telecom or other sectors. Can you tell us a bit about what kind of jobs jobs would come up here, or how do people prepare themselves to take up the job? Because the other side of drone is this: lot of data gets generated. Now you need to come up with decisions, conclusions, right? So how does this work?
There are different use cases which are emerging every day with respect to drones, and every use case has its own unique requirement, and also unique ways of collecting data and unique ways of interpreting that data to make a useful or derive a useful information out of it. It is not the data for which the people are paying drone companies. It is the information and the intelligence for which they pay. So this is this becomes a sector specific capability to understand how to interpret data and what exactly to look for. Now, there are multiple ways people can develop a career in this direction. One is, let's say, a first starting point that there is a lot of manual intervention required to first shortlist the data, filter the data, prepare the data, so that it can be converted into a useful form, right? And then over a period of time, all these activities will be replaced by algorithms, where image processing, machine learning will come into picture. And any algorithm is never an accurate thing to solve a problem. It is always an estimation-based process. So some or the other way, there will be some human intervention required for quality checks also. There are simple to do jobs also in data analytics, which is sorting the data, preparing the data, and doing the final QC on the final output. But there is in between a very skilled and engineering oriented activity which is required to develop solutions through utilizing advanced techniques of, let's say, deep learning and machine learning. So people who are from, let's say, that area of interest or expertise can also participate in this and create those capabilities. In the coming future, we will also see a lot of activities being done in terms of analytics online also on real-time basis. So how to do edge computing, how to make a hardware which is capable enough to do that. For example, let us look at cell phone as an example, right? I mean, when it started like those Nokia 1100 kind of cell phones, which was only helping us make calls. So today, this is the condition of the drone. We're just making them fly. Then came the phone with cameras. Then came the drones with cameras, right? Collecting data, we're downloading images. But then slowly smartphones came into picture. Today, our phones are more capable than our laptops 3 years back.
Right.
We see 8 GB RAM and all those capabilities, which was not even available in laptops 3 to 4 years back at the same cost, right? And today we are able to do very complex tasks on the phone. Image processing is also happening on the phone. It makes you look beautiful. It makes you look young. It also makes you sometimes looks old. There are so many filters people have put. These are all algorithms, right? So if those kind of things can be packed into a small object like this, the phone, why not in a drone? So there will be a lot of engineering optimization which will be coming in picture from the hardware and software perspective to do real-time data analytics and interpretation. So there are again different subject matter expertise and skill sets required to enable this future.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to disrupt, as I understand from you, like how mobile phones have disrupted our lives, and especially post-pandemic.
I would put it in a different way. It is going to enable us. It is a disruptive business from a business perspective, but mobiles have enabled us in a big way. Look at it from the gender equality, social equality, getting the opportunity to connecting the rural population with the rest of the world. A student sitting in the rural area can also get himself educated on the most advanced curriculum by using this mobile phone. Right. And a person sitting in some small tribal society can also sell his goods and art using this mobile phone, right? So this drone is going to enable multiple sectors in big way.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful statement also you're making regarding the future and how it's going to shape the future and make it more inclusive and, provide more opportunities. Now, for that to happen, I would again come back to the question of capacity building, training of trainers, creating that entire ecosystem in terms of training and education. So maybe you can share a few top of the mind kind of points, which perhaps could be action items for most of them who are watching this conversation, because the focus is more about training, skill development for this sector.
As I was telling, that it's a multidisciplinary sector. It
Yeah.
requires people from different disciplines. So I believe first important thing is that awareness about the potential of the sector among all the kids, especially because it's basically the inspiration which people drives people's ambition, right? So I also got driven by certain things which I saw in my childhood, and then decided that, oh, fine, I will be doing aerospace engineering. Oh, fine, I want to build drones. There will be future and all that. So there is a lot of awareness needs to be created at a very elementary level that this is something. There is an industry which is coming up, right? So that people at least see that as a possibility for themselves. Some of them will get inspired to pursue a career and knowledge and skills in that direction. And which there are already platforms available to do that. Only thing is that can be a dedicated focus area. Second thing is that I think the penetration has to go to the rural area as well, because very, very important. Drones are going to play more vital role in changing the scenario of the rural India than the urban India. That is what my estimate is. Hence, the awareness needs to be more focused in the rural part of the country. And then comes the professional education part. In professional education part, it depends on what segment of the industry one wants to get engaged into. See, manufacturing, piloting, or developing the technology, these are three different sectors, right? There can be many other things. And in that manufacturing and designing also, there are again different disciplines. Coding is one discipline, hardware design from mechanical side is one discipline, electronics design is another discipline, right? So there are good number of opportunities which are available from knowledge and skill building perspective. What is important is to have little more emphasis on the fundamental knowledge, the working principles, the physics, and the laws behind it functioning, because that is something which ensures that whatever you learn ahead of it is of use, right? And second important thing is that it's a very nascent industry. It's not an established industry where there are already established players with established capabilities to quickly come and share the workload. So because everyone is a startup works in a very different way. They are more hands-on, and they build their solutions while they are already in the problem. Okay, they hit the market first and then they start building the solution. So I think this is a unique capability of startups which needs to be taught even at the institution level. Is that my understanding is that 50% of the curriculum should be theoretical and pure 50% should be hands-on industry experience. That is when we can bridge the gap between the academic knowledge and the requirement of the industry. And it should be done in phases. For example, if we are, let's say, 2-year program or a 3-year program, you do 1 semester in college, 1 semester in industry. Yeah. Go back again, study in college, do 1 more semester. Don't do all the theoretical together and then you figure out, oh, I don't know anything when you hit the industry. So that when you hit the industry for 6 months and go back, then you know exactly what you should learn. Yeah. Then you go back again in the industry, do the next level, and then you know what more you need to understand and learn. So your learning is calibrated with respect to what is the requirement of the industry. Right? That is the kind of dynamics which needs to be created, and industry should be allowed, or right now it is already happening, but smaller companies and startups like us should be also made participants in defining these curriculums, defining the needs. And this should not be a one-time affair, because what I feel that is happening sometimes is we take the input from the industry, make a curriculum, and it keeps going for next 4-5 years. It's a very dynamic industry. It's changing every 6 months. Yeah. So the curriculum and the approach to teach that knowledge has to adjust based on the current requirement and near future requirement of the industry. Yeah. So that dynamics have to be always in consistency. Basically, it should be a continuous dynamic between industry and academia, right? Or skill development platforms and the industry, that you keep revising your curriculum based on the current needs of the industry.
Yeah. At present, there are also some training providers in this sector, and we see that the cost of the training program is pretty high. Any opinion or any idea about this? Is that going to reduce in the coming years, or is technology-enabled training with immersive learning and latest, technologies, is that going to blend it and kind of bring the cost down? Because I feel for somebody to enroll in a training program, cost could be a factor, which could be inhibiting, or so how do we look at this angle of it?
No, I believe I agree with your observation that it is quite expensive at this point of time. Okay, it is also important to understand what are the costs involved in imparting that training, one, because there is a huge piece of land one has to dedicate only for running the training program. And then also the equipment which is subjected to various risks during the training program. So I won't say that we can reduce the cost. I mean, it is exorbitantly high, but yes, it is high. However, what I feel is that any service or commodity which is in, let's say, lesser than the demanded, it will always have a higher cost. No, sometimes our tomatoes and onions also go 100-150 rupees kg when they are in scarcity.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point here which I wanted to make is that there is need to open more such institutions. One. Second thing is that right now most of the training platforms or organizations are only focused on imparting the mandatory certification curriculum. Okay. I believe that is not enough to ensure a successful career. There is a need to go beyond that. That should become a subset of any training program. Just getting your driving license doesn't make you a good driver on the road. You need to learn a lot of other things to be a good and responsible driver. So I believe the curriculum has to also evolve, may not be mandatory. So, but people have to come forward and create new benchmarks. And I believe when there are enough good people giving value add programs, which will ensure successful career, not only certification, and parallelly, someone taking the bet to do it in a little lesser cost, slowly the cost will also come down and the quality will improve. And once the quality improves, demand will increase, supply will also increase, a lot of other people will come into the picture. And when no more people will come into the picture, the competition will increase. When competition increases, the prices will come down. So that is how every market evolves. I believe that is what will happen in this market as well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hope it goes that way. And one last question I would like to ask you is about yourself, your passion, which I can feel as I'm talking to you in the area of aerospace engineering. And maybe from your IIT days, the dream you had, you're realizing it now. Is there something which you would wish to share with people who would probably want to enter into this as entrepreneurs, as people who want to try out as innovators? Are there any points you wish to share with them as well?
That can become a dedicated session, but I'd like to keep it very short.
Yes.
See, for me, the fundamental interest towards flying objects came when I used to see airplanes flying over my house.
Okay.
And I mean, when I say airplanes, I used to see them as a small dot which is moving with a trail of smoke behind it, right? Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, when I grew up, I started watching a lot of cartoon, like any other kid. In our days, the cartoons were a lot of different quality, and also there were a good number of cartoons which were there for grown-up people also. Okay, so there used to be a certain set of such cartoon episodes which were around aircrafts, so that fascinated. Then went to National Geographic, more curiosity. So I will believe that there was an early age curiosity towards all the flying objects. That led to questioning led to clarification led to plan that I should do something in this field. Then different inspiration came from different people. I believe two people have inspired me the most. One was the Jamshedji Tata and another was Abdul Kalam. Okay. So two things they taught is that in any adverse situation, even if you don't have a ruler which is in the favor of the country, if you want to build a business and a solution, you can do it, provided how you maneuver around. And which is Jamshedji Tata, because he was working and creating Tata Group under the rule of British, right? And still he created a very impactful organization which is doing a lot of public welfare work as well. Second thing was Abdul Kalam. So he created our space and missile programs when we actually were not having any technology close to it, right? And not only that, Vikram Sarabhai and so many other people were involved, but it was the determination. In spite of maybe he was more of being a good scientist, he was a good leader who knew how to take everyone together and deliver a result. So one of his statements is, which inspired me, was that if you want to build a good nation, you can't build it with a borrowed technology. Okay. So when I was in college, I realized that if I am studying this subject and this subject allows me to make sure that the future of this particular industry can be written here in India by people like us, what is the harm in attempting it? Right. Someone attempted to write the chapter of IT industry. Someone attempted to write the chapter of automobile industry, space program. So what is the harm in attempting it? So that gave us the persistence to continue, I believe. And then on the way, I found really good people who had the similar thought process. I would not say that I am alone, or there's my co-founder who's involved in this whole story. He's the guy who's actually doing all the tech, and I am the guy who does all the other thing other than tech. Okay, so we got when you have the right path, you meet people on that path, and then you join the journey. So I got right people, right mentors who are interested to guide us, who are interested to support us. There were various professors and also various other people in the family who were ready to support our ambition. They allowed us to do what we wanted to allow. I think society also plays a very important role when you are on this such kind of journey, because being an entrepreneur in India is not easy. It takes a lot of toll on your, let's say, social life, on your financial life, on your personal and professional relationships. So one needs to sacrifice a lot, and a lot of role is played by your family, your friends, your education institute, your mentors in shaping up and allowing you to be flexible with those choices. So I think I was also fortunate enough to get the right people around who allowed me and my co-founder to maneuver and take decisions as we wanted, and allowed us to also fail multiple times. It's not that we have been successful in 9 years, we would have failed hundreds of times. Okay, so but people knew that once we fail, we will come back. So I believe one of the societal problem which India has got is that the appetite for failure. Right? I believe that needs to increase. If that increases, this country can do wonders.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I'm glad I asked you the last question. It's so inspiring to hear your story, even though it was a brief one. Sometime I look forward to an opportunity to personally meet you and perhaps know more about you. Thank you so much, Vipul, for this inspiring talk, and also all the passion you shared about the need for creating an ecosystem in terms of training, education, and skill development, which is very much essential for this industry to grow and contribute to the society. Like you said, it's more of a social contribution as well, besides contributing to the economy. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Madhuriji, having me here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.